At sentencing, Mexican drug lord El Chapo says confinement is mental torture. New York Reuters Joaquin L. Guzman spoke during a sentencing hearing in a federal court in Brooklyn that is also expected to feature a statement from someone who survived a murder plot led by Guzman, prosecutors have said. The person's name, speaking through a translator, Guzman called his confinement in the United States psychological. Guzman, 62, was found guilty by a jury in February of trafficking tons of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana and engaging in multiple murder conspiracies as a top leader of the Sinaloa cartel, long known as one of Mexico's largest and most violent drug trafficking organizations. Prosecutors have asked U.S. District Judge Brian Cogan to sentence him to life in prison, plus 30 years for use of firearms. Guzman's lawyer, Guzman, whose nickname means Shorty, developed a reputation as a Robin Hood-like figure that made him a folk hero to many in his home state of Sinaloa, where he was born in a poor mountain village. He is being held in solitary confinement in the Metropolitan Correctional Center, a fortress-like jail in Lower Manhattan. Cogan last month, before he was finally captured in 2016, Guzman twice escaped maximum security prisons in Mexico. He was extradited. Guzman made a name for himself as a trafficker in the 1980s by digging tunnels under the U.S.-Mexico border that allowed him to smuggle drugs more quickly than any of his rivals. He amassed power. His 11-week trial, which featured testimony from more than a dozen former associates of Guzman who had made deals to cooperate with prosecutors, offered the public an unprecedented look at the cartel's inner workings. The witnesses, who included some of Guzman's top lieutenants, a communications engineer and a one-time mistress, described how he built a sophisticated organization reminiscent of a multinational corporation. He sent drugs northward with fleets of planes and boats, and had detailed accounting ledgers and an encrypted electronic communication system run through secret computer servers in Canada, witnesses said. U.S. prosecutors have claimed that Guzman sold more than $12 billion worth of drugs, and Forbes magazine once listed him as among the world's richest men. Though other top cartel figures had been extradited to the United States before, Guzman was the first to go to trial rather than pleading guilty. Guzman often lived on the run. Imprisoned in Mexico, he was seized again in 2014, but pulled off his best-known escape the following year when he disappeared into a ventilated, mile-long tunnel dug into his cell in a maximum security prison. He was finally recaptured in January 2016. The Mexican government, Guzman's lawyers have said they intend to appeal his guilty verdict. They have already despite Guzman's downfall, the Sinaloa cartel had the biggest U.S. distribution presence of Mexican cartels as of last year, followed by the fast-growing Jalisco New Generation cartel, according to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. Reporting by Brendan Pearson in New York. Editing by Scott.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.